let's talk about the mindset at your workplace. It's kind of this invisible force that shapes how you feel about everything: your wins, your losses, even what you think you're capable of. We're going to dive deep into this because honestly, getting a handle on this one idea can totally change your entire experience at work. So let me start by asking you a really direct question. And, be honest with yourself here. When you go to work, does it feel like you're constantly being judged? Like every single move is being scored against some invisible ruler? Or does it feel like a place that's actually trying to help you grow, to help you develop? That one question right there gets to the absolute heart of the two mindsets we're about to break down. And that choice is between a fixed mindset and a growth mindset. I know, it sounds simple, but this one little difference has huge consequences for how we all work. Because you see, how you look at talent isn't just a personal preference, it's a full-blown strategy. The difference between these leaders really just boils down to a core belief. A boss with a fixed mindset, they think talent is this thing you either have or you don't. That's it. And this makes them obsessed with their own power, sometimes even holding back their best people because they feel threatened. But a growth mindset boss, they believe potential is something you can build. They see their team as collaborators, and their number one job is to help everyone get better. One creates a culture of fear, and the other, well, they create a culture of trust. It's a world of difference. Now, it's so easy to point the finger at the boss or the company culture, right? But real, meaningful change, it always starts with us. You don't need anyone's permission to start thinking differently. You can be the one who kicks things off. And that whole journey, it starts by looking in the mirror. So, how do you actually do it? Well, first, you've got to change how you see mistakes. Stop thinking of them as some final judgment on your skills. Instead, treat them like pure data, just information telling you what to try differently next time. Second, don't just put up with feedback, actively profit from it. Go looking for it, dig into it, find that nugget of truth. And finally, you have to take charge of your own learning. Don't just sit around waiting for a training session. Create your own by taking on challenges that are just a little bit outside your comfort zone. Okay, so once you've started with yourself, you can start to build outwards. If you're a leader, this personal shift can create this incredible ripple effect. It literally transforms your job from being a boss who just manages tasks to being a developer who grows people. And what does that actually look like day to day? It's not about making some huge dramatic announcement. It's about weaving growth into the very fabric of your team. Things like offering apprenticeships, running workshops, doing coaching sessions. These aren't just one-off events, they're systems for growth. And you see the theme, right? They all work because they change the entire dynamic. You stop seeing people as just employees to be managed, and you start seeing them as partners on a shared mission. All right, so we've gone from you to your team, but what about the whole organization? How do you scale this up to an entire company? I mean, that can seem impossible, especially in some massive old-school corporation. But it turns out there's a legendary blueprint for doing exactly that. Let's call it the Gerstner method. This amazing quote comes from Lou Gerstner. He was the CEO who pulled off one of the most famous turnarounds in business history at IBM back in the 90s. IBM was the elephant, this huge, slow, bureaucratic giant that was literally on the verge of collapsing. Gerstner's whole challenge was to make that elephant dance again. And he didn't do it with just new products. He did it by changing the company's deeply ingrained, fixed mindset. Gerstner's strategy was basically to wage war on that old, fixed way of thinking. He rooted out elitism, which sent a powerful message that great ideas could come from anyone, not just the executives. He forced a culture of self-examination, which made it safe for people to admit when things went wrong, and you can't learn if you can't admit you were wrong. These things were absolutely critical for opening up communication and, maybe most importantly, for breaking down the walls between departments to build real teamwork. It was a total cultural revolution from the inside out. You know, one of the biggest enemies of a growth mindset, whether it's in a tiny team or a giant company like IBM, is groupthink. It's that cozy, dangerous feeling you get when everyone just agrees a little too easily, when no one wants to rock the boat. A real growth culture needs a special weapon to fight that. And here are 3 really practical weapons for your arsenal. First, officially assign someone to be the devil's advocate in a meeting. This gives them the permission slip they need to poke holes in ideas without feeling like they're being difficult. Second, you can stage formal debates on big issues. This separates the idea from the person, which makes criticism feel way less personal. And hey, even a simple anonymous suggestion box can bring out critical ideas that people are just too afraid to say out loud. The goal is always the same: Make it safe to disagree. And this brings us to a really important aha moment. Encouraging people to think for themselves and to challenge ideas doesn't create chaos. It doesn't weaken the team. It does the exact opposite. It makes the team stronger, smarter, and way more able to handle curveballs. You can be an amazing team player because you're a strong, independent thinker. The two things aren't at odds at all. They actually feed each other. Wow. Okay, we have covered a lot of ground, from your own head to your team, all the way up to transforming a giant company. But it all comes back to that first small step. So I'm going to leave you with this one last question. Thinking about everything we just talked about, what is one single concrete action you will take this week, just one thing, to help build a growth mindset for yourself or for the people around you?